A group of Elgin pilots storm the ranch, dropping napalm and bombing it. One of the helicopters is taken down, but the ranch is completely destroyed with no signs of survivors.
Your bleak and boring lives.
Welch reports to Hatch that the Resistance's base has been destroyed. Hatch asks about ex-chairman Schema, and Welch reports that he's apparently just vanished. Now, knowing what you know about Dr. James Hatch, or Admiral Hatch now, he would have sent me to the rats for that. Knowing what you know about Hatch, what is he going to do in this situation? Will he, A, promote Welch, B, kiss Welch? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe they're gonna smooch. C, this is off script. I just want to make that excuse. The point is, he completely overreacts, and takes Welch's title away, sends him to prison, and orders that he be fed to the rats. This ends part 1.
Well, ain't that a crying out loud shame?
The Electro Clan are flying back to the ranch with their parents named Scott. Their parents? Okay, you know what? That's the new canon. These guys are the the dads of the entire Electro Clan. The Electro Clan are flying back to the ranch with their pilots named Scott and Boyd. Everyone is pretty upset because the Voice has declared that everybody on the ranch died, including Mrs. Vey, Austin's parents, Gervaso, and Simon? No! My favorite character! Oh! Why did Simon have to die? He was my favorite character. I really liked his 2 lines of dialogue. Sorry, I got a little emotional there. They arrive in Mexico and quickly stop at a hotel before heading to check the remains of the ranch. Michael goes on a walk and some people attempt to steal from him, so he has a very appropriate reaction and nearly kills all of them. You know how Peter gets the symbiote and becomes a jerk in Spider-Man 3? This is basically Michael Vey's version of that. I think he needs a redesign. Much better. This ends part 2.
Now I'm the guy with the demon froggy.
Back in Idaho, Taylor's dad is called in by his boss at the police station because they have a lead on where Taylor disappeared to. They tell him that his wife was at the ranch and they think she may have kidnapped Taylor. In reality, we know that Mrs. Ridley was just hanging out at the ranch and none of that happened, but Taylor's dad is absolutely losing it. Ending part 3.
And the only thing he likes to eat is sardines.
The Electro Clan finally arrive at the ranch and it's a scene straight out of hell. The place has been burned to the ground. All the buildings and vehicles are destroyed. Even the place Michael and Taylor had their prom has been reduced to a pile of ash. Ian points out something unusual. Despite this annihilation, there's not even a drop of blood on the ground. Could the Resistance have escaped? They eventually find a man on the ground. He is an Elgin on the brink of death. Taylor reads his mind, and they find out he was a pilot that got taken down during the ranch attack. He hates the Elgin for leaving him to die, so the Electro Clan decide to save him and get all the information they can out of him. They get him to a hospital and stay at a hotel while Scott goes to check on Boyd. During the night, a man breaks into their room, but Jack manages to take him down by flying ass first into him. That was supposed to be like a kick, but it didn't quite work like that. Who could this mysterious man be? Why, it's none other than Gervaso, our little baby boy. He tells them that the Resistance went into hiding as soon as they knew the Elgin were coming. They evacuated before anyone could be killed, so everyone's parents are still alive. Yay! Oh, and also they were able to take down that helicopter by using a remote missile system. It wasn't Tanner. I was like convinced that it was just Tanner who did it when I was reading this, but it was just a remote missile system. So, boo, that's boring. Let Tanner do something. He's just sitting around collecting dust. So is Grace, actually. So are a lot of these characters. Gervaso tells everyone that their next move is to get to a new base called Christmas Ranch. He also tells them that the Elgin haven't given up on taking over Tuvalu and are about to launch their attack. This ends part 4.
Kirby must have been the monster that's been eating up all the sheep.
The Elgin Electric children are on one of the Elgin's new warships when they get the news Welch has been put in the brig and sentenced to death. Quentin takes this hard because Welch was like a father to him. When he first joined the Elgin, he learned all kinds of things from Welch, like how to golf and torture people. The usual fatherly activities. Quentin visits Welch in the brig while having Tara disguise him as Hatch. Quentin and Welch have a little father-son moment, and he decides that he has to save Welch no matter what, even if it means turning against Hatch. With the help of Tara's powers, they're able to sneak Welch out of prison, and it seems like all is well. That night, Hatch comes to visit Quentin and tells him that once the Elgin have taken over Tuvalu, Quentin will become king. One day, Hatch wants Quentin to be his successor, so ruling Tuvalu is like his training wheels. This ends part 5.
I can tack this up in my dressing room.
The Electro Clan arrive at Christmas Ranch and reunite with everyone. Out of the way! Out of the way! Get the fuck out of the way! I need to see my boy! Oh, I'm so glad you're okay! Gervaso shows Michael and Taylor a video of Taylor's mom being arrested. The Elgin planted evidence on her to make it look like she kidnapped Taylor. They did this to set bait so Taylor would come out of hiding to clear her mother's name. Part 6 ends with a plan to get Mr. and Mrs. Ridley to the ranch. I should also probably turn you back to normal, Michael Vey. His mom's alive. He has no reason to be sad anymore. This ends part 6.
Holy calamari!
The Elgin take over Tuvalu in like 5 seconds and capture all their leaders. Hatch will let the Prime Minister live if he surrenders. I will not bow to you or to any man. I bow only to God. God. Where is your God in your time of need? I will tell you where your God is. You are looking at him. No? Okay. I am going to cut off your tongue and lock you in a cage with monkeys then. The Elgin have completely taken over the island of Tuvalu and renamed it to the Hatch Islands. Quentin has officially become king. Hatch and Quentin have a meeting where Hatch basically gives him a step-by-step guide on how to become the next Hitler. If you think that's an exaggeration, they name drop him and describe the exact same tactics he used, and Quentin has a poster in his room with a quote from Hitler on it. I can't make this shit up. Oh, and also, before this, they were talking about dividing the population based on who had Elgin citizenship and who didn't by using the same tactics America used for racism, like separate drinking fountains and forcing people to sit in the back of the bus. If I may have a quick rant, I get that this is not Richard Paul Evans saying, I endorse these things, and I think we should bring them back. He's making the evil characters be evil. So I can kind of understand why he does it to a certain extent. But it's just hard to believe that this is what's become of the series about a guy with electric powers who has a crush on a cheerleader. What an end to part 7.
Hey, where am I?
Mrs. Ridley is being held in jail with a bail of $250,000. Poor Mr. Ridley is so confused. From this man's perspective, his daughter was apparently kidnapped by his own wife, who had $500,000 worth of heroin in her car. Of course, all this evidence was planted by the Elgin to set bait for Taylor, but oh my god, poor Mr. Ridley. As he's being dropped off at his house, Mr. Ridley mentions that he might try to post bail. His boss tries to talk him out of it, then makes a phone call to the Elgin. Ooh. This ends part 8.
I am a superstar warrior!
Michael, Taylor, Ian, and Gervaso drive past the Ridley's house and see a few Elgin guards staking out. They break in and wait for Mr. Ridley to return, then explain everything. Taylor finally gets to reunite with her father, and now he knows everything. Gervaso tells him the plan for posting bail. He's going to put his home up for collateral and use some money from the resistance to cover everything else. This ends part 9.
You downright spiffy yourself!
The only thing worth mentioning in this part is that the Ridleys escape an Elgin trap by blowing up their own car. This ends part 10.
Look at that charisma!
Both of Taylor's parents are now with the group and heading back to the ranch. That's all that really happens in this part. Next.
Kirby!
Oh, Hatch, I almost missed you. He decides that he feels like renaming all the islands of Tuvalu with Greek-inspired names. There's Hephaestus, where the Star Source plant is, Hades is the prison island, and finally Demeter for agriculture. There's more, but the only one I think you need to remember is Hades, because I'm looking at the cover of book 6 right now, and I have a sneaking suspicion that Hades is going to be important. After his meeting with the board, he's shown a video of Welch escaping with the Electric Children's help. He breaks into Quentin's room at 3 a.m. and hits him with that left-right goodnight. I'm not even joking. Hatch just beats the crap out of Quentin. He orders that Quentin be locked in cell 25. This ends part 12.
That monster been terrorizing us far too long!
Simon calls a meeting and informs the Electro Clan that 3 of the Elgin kids have rebelled. Quentin is going to be locked in a monkey cage, Tara and Torsten will be sentenced to death, and Kylie is also imprisoned for some reason. If they can rescue them, the Electro Clan would suddenly be a whole lot stronger. But that's not all. The Elgin have a submarine named the Jewel that casually has $9 billion on it, so Simon thinks stealing that money from the Elgin would completely destroy them. This ends part 13.
Let's stay up and party all night long!
Hey, it's Schema. You remember him, right? Everyone's favorite subplot. This takes place right after Hatch had gotten the upper hand and put a bounty on Schema in the last book. Shockingly, Schema gets caught, but is rescued by a new Electric Youth. Her name is Cassie, and her power is to make muscles tense up and basically paralyze people. I don't know if this is gonna be her final design, but I like it. I like the eyebrows. Let me know if it's too much or if it's just stupid. I'll change it for the next one. She packs Schema up in her car and drives him to meet the Voice. Cassie is extremely dangerous, probably the strongest after Michael. Her paralysis can reach over large distances, and she can paralyze specific parts of your body, like stopping your breathing by freezing your lungs. She can basically just kill you anytime she wants. She is very scary. It's time for the grand reveal. Schema steps into the office. The chair spins around, and the Voice is revealed to be... I don't know. The book ends. Well, see you guys in part 6.